Oh, another great resource. It's meetup.com. Especially in a big city like here in LA. I mean, you could fill up your entire social schedule, an entire week, just with events through Meetup. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this doesn't just apply. So right now we're talking about like lifestyle compatibility, right? So this goes beyond simply lifestyle compatibility. This goes beyond simply where you spend your time. There's a thing in psychology that they found. It's referred to as this assortment theory. What they found, so the research out there on attraction is kind of thin, but they have found a lot of really cool things. And in my opinion, assortment theory is the coolest thing that they've found. So generally when they study attraction, what they do is, everybody here heard of speed dating? So speed dating is basically when you take, say, 25 guys, 25 women, and the women all sit down at tables, and then the guys sit down, and every 5 minutes the guys get up and go to the next table. And so, you know, within an hour and a half, every man meets all 25 women for 5 minutes, and every woman meets every guy for 25 minutes. And then everybody writes down which ones they want to meet, and the organizers take the list, and if there are two people that both want to meet each other, then they let them know. So speed dating events are actually perfect for psychological research on attraction, because you have large sample sizes and you can survey the people beforehand and see and look for correlations. And they found something interesting consistently, which is that when you survey people and you ask them about beliefs that they have, the people with similar moral and ethical beliefs naturally end up with one another, even if they don't actually talk about it. So for instance, the most popular example is actually beliefs on sexism. So they did a big study, and what they did is they surveyed all the men and women beforehand, and they surveyed them about gender. They said, they basically said, a woman's place is in the kitchen, yes or no? Should a woman be submissive to her man? Should she agree with everything he says, etc., etc.? And then they graded them based on how sexist their answers were. And what they found is that men who are very sexist, like she belongs in the kitchen, she shouldn't say no, she shouldn't talk back, and women who are sexist, I should be in the kitchen, I shouldn't say no, naturally ended up attracted to one another, even though they didn't actually talk about their beliefs. And the interesting thing is that you might remember at the very beginning of the seminar, I talked about how beliefs and mindsets, one of the reasons this whole weekend we're talking very little about specific behaviors is because beliefs and mindsets inform all of our behaviors. If you change the belief and mindset, the behavior follows. And so the interesting thing is if a guy is very sexist, how is he going to behave around a woman, even if they're just chit-chatting? He'll probably be condescending. He'll probably be less open to listen about her. He'll be less impressed about her professional achievements. And if a woman has those beliefs, how is she going to behave? She's going to talk less about her personal achievements. She's going to listen more. She's going to be submissive to the man that she's talking to. And so they're just naturally going to develop a chemistry. Does that make sense? And so the beliefs and mindsets you have naturally determine the beliefs and mindsets and self-esteem of the women that you end up attracting. For instance, one of the guys in the audience here gave us a nice display of chair dancing during the break. And it was very funny and very exciting. And it's interesting because it'd be very easy to look at that and say, wow, weird and goofy, like no girl would ever be into that. But obviously, the only type of woman that's going to make that guy happy is a woman with a goofy and quirky sense of humor who thinks stuff like that is funny and is into doing stuff like that too. And so it's actually in his interest to accentuate that type of behavior. And now, as we kind of talked about yesterday, a lot of us, one of the types of performance is hiding aspects about ourselves that we believe to be faulty. And hiding aspects of our personality because they might be polarizing. But that's actually the opposite strategy we should take. We should take the extreme or unique aspects of our personality and accentuate them as much as possible. Because yes, it will polarize responses, but what does that polarization do? It separates the correct sectors of the dating economy. It separates out the women who are not going to be interested in us and assorts the correct ones in. And this is why authenticity is so important. Because if you're not authentic, if you are not able to authentically display your personality, if you can't share your identity clearly, or if you don't have a clear identity, then what sector are you in? You're kind of in none of them and kind of in all of them. And so it gets a lot more complicated. It gets a lot more difficult. And what you end up with is a lot of women who are like, yeah, here's my phone number, and you don't hear from them again. Or you end up with a lot of dates that are like kind of just go nowhere. Or you end up with a lot of situations where like, I think she likes me, but I don't know if she likes me. But when you're able to polarize and put yourself in the right sector, when you accentuate your identity and express it clearly, you end up in situations where either it's really obvious she doesn't like you, or it's really obvious that she does. And there's no gray area, there's no second guessing. But what this requires is developing a strong identity, which means investing in things you care about, and then expressing that identity authentically. The more authentic you are, the more polarizing you are to women you meet. And this is a good thing. Yes, it invites more rejection, but the rejection is useful because it tells you where her values are. And when they like you, they really fucking like you. And it's easy. You don't have to worry about, you don't have to sit there and analyze signals. You don't have to sit there and wonder like, oh God, why isn't she calling me back? You just know. It's like, she likes me, she doesn't like me. It's that simple, and you're okay with either outcome. Because you know that you're only interested in the women here. I want to wrap up this section talking about, I guess, there we go. There are a few things that are universally attractive or important no matter what demographic you're in. And these are some basic things that should be taken care of no matter what. So, appearance and grooming. A lot of men get really hung up on this for some reason. Well, actually, I know the reason. The reason men get hung up on this is that, let me back up a second. Men and women, we experience our sexualities differently. Like, we are biologically sexually different, and so we experience our sexualities different. And so women judge attraction based on different criteria than men do. Now the interesting thing is that women and men project how we perceive attraction to women. Like, for instance, for men, physical proportions are very, very important to us. Like, when we judge how attractive a woman is, her physical proportions are very important to us. And that is just a biological difference. The problem is that we project that preference and we assume that women are the same way. And so it creates a lot of insecurity. It's like, oh, well, I'm not tall enough, or my arms aren't big enough, or, you know, I've got too much of a gut. So no women are going to be attracted to me. Obviously, I'm ugly, I'm not attractive. But it's not the case. And the funny thing is women do the same thing to us. You know, it's like women are always like, oh, she's such a slut, she's such a bitch, how can he like her? It's like, well, if you saw what we saw, you would know. Or have you guys ever, I think every guy's experienced this, where like a smoking hot girl walks into the room and like all your girlfriends, or like women you know, are like, she's not pretty at all, she's so unattractive, and like all the guys are like, God damn, look at that. And then if you actually ask the women why she's unattractive, they're like, well, her skirt is disproportional with the way her blouse comes off her shoulders, and those earrings are just tacky, and that highlight in her hair is just done terribly. And the guys are like, what? Like, we don't even see what they're talking about. So the point is, men and women project our own sexual perceptions onto each other. And for this reason, we assume that when it comes to appearance and grooming, that has mostly to do with physical dimensions. And yes, physical dimensions matter. But studies show that when it comes to judging a man's appearance, it's about 70% style and grooming. Making sure that he's clean, he's got a nice haircut, his clothes fit, he's dressed well, his socks match. These are the things that women see and judge as attractive. The 30%, the physical dimensions, it actually has much less to do with size and has more to do with muscle tone. So whether you're skinny, tall, broad-shouldered, you know, stout, whatever, the point is to be in good shape. So the important things here, one is exercise. And there's just, you don't have to go to a gym. I mean, obviously it's nice if you do, but find some way to exercise. And beyond simply aesthetics, exercise increases your energy levels, it increases your testosterone levels, it makes all sorts of parts of yourself, healthier skin, healthier hair, healthier heart. There's just massive, massive indirect benefits to it. You should be exercising almost daily, if not more. Second big one is just clothes that fit. The beautiful thing about men's fashion is that it's actually not very complicated. Men's fashion is pretty straightforward. We've got suits, jackets, ties, button-down shirts, t-shirts, jeans, shorts, slacks, shoes. That's about it. Women, if you look at women's fashion, it's like, God, it's complicated. Shit all over the place. Women making fashion statements and trendy looks and all this stuff. Men, it's like, put on a nice shirt, nice jeans or nice pants, nice shoes, and you're pretty much set. But the most important part with men is fit. Men tend to wear clothes that are too big. And I'm not going to go into all the details about this. I've got a bunch of articles on my website about it if you're interested and want to read more about it. postmasculine.com.